everyone. It's another Thursday here, of course, in my village in the conversation land. Welcome to the conversation, Outspoken Opinionated. Of course, I am your host, Edwin Maya. Today is our final episode of season 3. I am super excited. It's been great. Season 3 has been amazing, and of course, if you aren't following us, you need to go to Instagram and like us and follow us on the Outspoken and Opinionated podcast. You need to go to Facebook and friend us on at The Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. Of course, we're on Spotify, The Conversation Outspoken Opinionated, and we're also on Apple Podcasts, The Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. So you have anywhere to follow us. Today is our last episode of season 3. I was reminded that we've actually shot 62 episodes of the conversation in its totality. So from season 1 up to now, we've shot 62 episodes with over 120 guests. So I am really excited about what we've done. You guys have been here with us from the beginning, especially everybody who's been here with us from the beginning. I'm super excited. I'm super excited to say that season 4 is going to be spectacular. It's going to be vamoose. It's going to be like just over the top. So if you're riding with us, just keep on riding because season 4 is going to be great. The lineup is already getting ready for our guests. They are super excited to be on in person, guys. So season 4, we're going to be in the house. We're going to do the COVID stuff. Everybody going to do all that stuff that we're supposed to do. We're going to do all that stuff. But we're getting people in-house. But today, especially, I always like to keep the last person of the season for someone who's dear to my heart, someone who I appreciate, someone who I think they are just super dope. And of course, we're celebrating LIB Takeover 2022. So who else am I going to bring? I'm going to bring somebody who is super dope, who is a real Liberian takeover. And so I have one of my friends, my really good friend, someone who I've gotten to know over the past years, and then we realized we're related, so it just made the bond even stronger. Chef Dominique, if you have never had, she used to do this thing in Maryland. She decided to go to New York, but she used to do this like crab thing in like Columbia area, and I'm just gonna be quiet. But yeah, so for LIB Takeover, of course, we've had some great people on the show for this month. We had Tia Wabonglo, we had Koto Momalu, we had the amazing one and only Berenice Mulba, and today we have Dominique Tolbert. Now I'm going to bring her into the broadcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's quite an introduction.
We gotta do what we gotta do. We gotta keep the people. We gotta keep the people. They gotta keep on coming. But it's so good to have you, Dominique. It's been I don't know. You knew about this podcast from the beginning, and so why not have you on the show? And so I'm super excited to have you. I say thank you so much for honoring our invitation, for being here. From the conversation to you, we say we appreciate you, and thank you for all the things you're doing. I didn't want to really spread, but the people need to know. Like that, what she's in essence, she's been everywhere. So yeah, people, this is what it is. So Dominique, can you just tell the people who you are, what you do? I probably didn't get it right, but who you are and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. First, I want to say, I told myself I was going to stop doing podcasts for a little bit. And then only because you and only you who asked me, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. Otherwise, y'all probably wouldn't be seeing my face here today.
You heard? I told you. The friends that you have, they have to be connection. This is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We're just getting friends. We're getting connection. Go ahead.
So yeah, you did a great introduction. My name is Dominique Tolbert. So I guess I'll give you more of the business background. So my background is in hotel tourism management, primarily restaurant management, but I'll kind of reverse actually. So I grew up around food. I think, most Liberians were always around food. Good food on my side of the family. I have aunts and cousins who are in the restaurant industry and have been in the restaurant industry or catering on both sides of my family. And the people in my family can cook just all around. So I've always been around good food growing up that way, but then also started, my first jobs and stuff working in restaurants, cooking or on the serving side. And so just really like the business. So I studied hotel management in undergrad, and then I decided to get into restaurant management, managing restaurants in Las Vegas with MGM Resorts at the MGM Grand. So that was kind of my first official, career goal or career pursuit in the greater restaurant industry. Then I decided to kind of switch gears, go back to what I kind of grew up with and what my passion was, and start cooking. So I started cooking for the Four Seasons in Baltimore and worked my way up in kitchens there. And then the restaurant closed down, got bought out. Didn't really have a plan for us. So while I was there, I was also, hustling on the side, trying to make some extra money, doing some pop up events. It's a crab feast, as EJ referenced, and then some other things. And so when that restaurant closed down, I went to entrepreneurship for myself full time, running a catering and events company. So catering for private clients in the DMV area as well as New York, but then hosting pop-ups throughout the country. So I've done pop-ups in New York, the DMV area, as well as Los Angeles. And then also I really got to do a really fun one a few years ago in Liberia at the Capitol Room, which was really cool. It was nice to be able to go home and, do some stuff there, work there with the local ingredients and create some fun food. So yeah, I was running that catering and events company for quite some time. Decided to go back to school to get my MBA and look at the global food and beverage industry. So really looking at agriculture, impact investment, and marketing strategy across different regions of the continent. And now today I work in procurement for the beverage industry, in addition to still doing some catering here and there, and then running a spice company called Mesean Spices. So that is what I do in a nutshell.
So Dominique, I think a lot of times we people don't know the things that happen in the background when it comes to you guys who are, I would say, creative. You guys who are creative, and especially for someone who is a chef, you guys create this nice food. We sit there, we eat it, we go home, and that's it. And all your effort that goes into it, we just eat it, we go home. And sometimes somebody might share and say, "Oh my God, you should go to that restaurant. You should go to that crab feast because the person can cook and stuff like that." But you had an opportunity to go to Liberia, and I think you had an opportunity to go to Liberia, and I just want us to start from there. And you went into the local market, and so for I will refer to you as a chef who was educated in America, who had the opportunity to work in big industries. You talk about MGM, you talk about Four Seasons and all that stuff. And now you go to Liberia, and now you're doing everything by yourself. Because I believe when you're in MGM, you weren't going to the market to buy the food. Supplier vendors come and drop it off, and you guys make sure that what you have to do it. So tell us about that experience as someone who were, I would say, born, bred, educated, and everything in America, and now you go to Liberia to do this thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't my first time going to Liberia. It's first time cooking there, in the fashion that I did. So I have been going back and forth since I was like 13. So at the time I did that event was over 10 years, just back and forth from between the states, Liberia over the holidays or whenever, just to be a part of what was going on there. Especially someone being born and raised in the states, I wanted to form that connection and form that familiarity. So it was very random. It was maybe 2 or 3 days before I was supposed to leave Liberia that the opportunity popped up. And my cousin Barku, who owns the Capitol Room, she was like, "Hey, if you want to do an event here, I can help you get a guest list together. We'll put it out there, see what happens." And I was just kind of like, "I'm about to leave in a few days." And she was like, "Let's just do the event." And so yeah, it happened very randomly like that. She sent it out to her network. I sent it out to my network. I think initially we only opened it up to like 20 people, and then it like went super fast. So she said, "Let's do another 10." I'm like, "All right," went super fast. And then I think in the end we ended up settling on like 40 to 45 guests. And then for me, from any time that I travel, just in general, I've traveled all around the world, been to all of the continents except for Antarctica and Australia. So for me, liking food, one of the places I need to hit whenever I go to a country is to the local market. And so I don't really want to go into the grocery store. I want to go to the market to see what people are eating every day, to see, some of the more local produce that you're only going to get in that specific country, to get food that isn't pumped with a lot of chemicals or more chemicals or whatever else. And so for me, the natural thing was to go to the local market and to create the menu based on what I was able to find there. And so not to rely on grocery stores for anything. And so that's what I did when on my pursuit of creating a menu for this very pop up dinner at the Capitol Room a few years ago now.
So you said something that I want to ask you. So I know for us, think we're the bam bam when it comes to cooking. Some of us we like to create a menu first and then go off it. But you just said something. You said you went to the market, figure out what you could get, then you created a menu.
Yeah, I did it in the reverse.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Because one, I didn't want to limit myself and say, okay, I have what I want to make in mind, and then I can't find the things that I need to make it. And I mean, if you are a creative individual, and for me, having worked in kitchens from, physically cooking, but then also being on the other side of things and just seeing how flavors come together and through my travels, eating and cooking in general, it's to me, it's kind of easy if you get the materials and you just make whatever it is that is coming to mind. So that's just how I kind of free flowed with it. And I think there were some things that I had to adjust or see. I remember in the menu testing phase, because I maybe had one day to really see, like, would this work out the way that I think it's going to work out. And there were a few things that I had to adjust, given like, okay, I have these ingredients now. Are they going to cook the way that I want? Are they going to hold up over time? Is the kitchen that I'm going to be working in, can I do XYZ versus something else? And so, you have to make those adjustments like that, which, you just have to do anyways. And then one of the craziest things about that dinner for me in general was, while I was there, the power went out. Or the generator stopped working. And so we ended up, and thank God, Barku had like a very good staff there. There was one lady, I think her name was Monica, helping me in the kitchen. Like, she was my sous chef. Thankfully, like, she and we pumped out some good food for those 45 people, but we ended up having to basically do a cold pot setup in the back of the Capitol Room because we couldn't use the kitchen because the generators went out. And so I think we did the first 2 courses like out the kitchen, and then midway through we had to just transition everything. And so even with that, certain things that I had planned to do, I couldn't do anymore because space was limited, or the style of cooking we could no longer do being outside versus in the kitchen. So
wow. I'm looking at, so that's just you, stuff happens. That's a developing country. People need to understand, Liberia, that is going to happen. And so you have this opportunity and you do this thing. And so you're sitting there, you're a Liberian, I would say you're a Liberian. You're a Liberian, you're cooking Liberian food. What was the first Liberian food that inspired you to start? I think this is something I want to do.
I don't even know. I mean, folks ask me if I can pinpoint that time in my life where it's like, when did I decide I wanted to cook or I want cooking to be my thing? I don't really have it. I just remember always being around food. I mean, there are a few dishes that I remember growing up that are just, highlights or food memories in my life. So definitely split peas and fish gravy on Sundays, collard greens on Sundays. Also, I really love palm butter just in general. I always remember just loving palm butter. Also, Liberian shortbread. I love shortbread. So yeah, those are some things that are just like good food memories for me. I remember helping to make shortbread in the kitchen at some point in my life. And then just like those Sunday dinner memories are top of mind. I used to do something called the Sunday dinner series when I was in college before I officially started, my catering business and event business. And then I started doing Sunday dinners as a part of, the company events that I would do. So I don't know, food has just always been a part of me in a sense.
So there are some of us who aren't foodies. And, you have a lot of people who are foodies. So go to just, I don't try new things. I don't experiment with food. I take my time. I go to specific restaurant because I want a specific thing. I eat it and I leave. There are people who do an explorers and stuff like that. And so I ask you, for someone who have experience, you chef, you have experience in cooking, is it wise to go out there and try stuff, or is it like what, just stay in your lane, do what you do, and that's it?
You said, is it wise to go out and
Is it
try?
wise to, like, let's say for example, I go to China and whatever they have, like this, I just experiment on their food, or should I just stick to things that I know?
I mean, you're asking me, the person. So for
Yeah,
me,
you're a chef. I want to see, like, do you expect people to like, they need to learn more food and to get their palates wet, or stick to
it's
your
not
list?
it's not an expectation of mine for other people, but when people are around me or my friends are around me, they're expecting some type of experience to happen,
Well, of
whether
course.
it's fine dining with a different type of cuisine, or like hole in the wall eating on the side of the street type of thing. Like, it's always going to be an experience. Excuse me, it's always going to be like an experience when you are, I guess, eating out with me, and even when I'm like making food for other folks to eat. So I think people should try everything. I try everything. I eat everything for the most part. There are a couple of things that I'll stay around, stay away from. I don't really like organs and intestines very
Uh-huh.
much. Certain things I'll try
Mhm.
just to try it, but it's not something that I would eat regularly.
So some people have said that they feel that food from West Africa inspire a lot of food around the world. So in every, like someone would say, in every culture, everything, they can taste something that comes from Africa. And so have you seen that as well?
Yeah, I believe that. I definitely do believe that. And for me, when I don't really advertise myself as someone who cooks Liberian food. Like, when
Okay.
folks come to me for catering services or pop-up events or private chef work or anything like that, they're like, "Oh, so you make Liberian food?" And it's like, I can make traditional Liberian dishes. When I put out my pop-up menus and things like that, I try to do African fusion or African diaspora fusion. And then, if folks give me leeway in their menus, I try to incorporate flavors of the diaspora. So when I talk about the African diaspora, for me, it's, those places where folks from Africa, especially concentrated in West Africa, where a lot of slaves came from, kind of spread out across the world, not only just the global South where you find a lot of Black people, but just, throughout the Caribbean, throughout Latin America, throughout parts of Asia, parts of Southeast Asia, throughout the United States. So, I mean, you can definitely find influence in the cuisine. Even if you look in American cuisine or Southern cuisine, especially in South Carolina, like the Geechee people, when you look at the food there, I feel like I see a lot of the food that we eat in Liberia, like even dry rice or okra sauce, or the way that we make our pepper soup for fufu and soup. So you can see those influences there. And I think it's just because of how Black people have traveled. If you go to parts of Brazil, especially like Salvador de Bahia, where there are Black people, a lot of Black Brazilians, they cook with palm oil. They cook with like a lot of the flavors that we use in Liberia and across West Africa, and you'll find this in different parts of the world for sure.
So there's a question that came in, and the person is asking, what makes Liberian cuisine more palatable than other West African cuisine? They're trying to set you up.
That's really, I mean, other than like we know how to cook, in my opinion, I think like we know how to put together some good flavors. I don't know. I can't say why it's more palatable. I don't think other West African cuisines aren't palatable. I would prefer Liberian cuisine over other West African cuisines, especially our jollof rice.
You just walked right into it. I was gonna bring it up.
Y'all really want to go there?
Let's talk about the jollof rice thing, because I actually, so I had an event that I went to. I had somebody to make jollof rice, and I took it to the event because I knew there were going to be the Ugadem, the Nigerian people, they were coming. So I brought the jollof rice, and they was like, "Oh my God, you cook jollof rice, you put peas in it. Oh my God, you put carrots in it. That's not jollof rice." I said, "What is jollof rice?" Like jollof rice takes everything. You have to just know how to make it. So coming to you with the whole jollof rice thing. Is there a distinction within jollof rice or jollof rice there should be, or do you think there should be a traditional jollof rice across the board?
No, I don't think there should be a traditional across the board, but then also I don't think I'm the one who should really have an opinion on that because they say the Senegalese invented jollof rice, right? So if we're going based off of that being the originators, then someone could say jollof rice should be like Senegalese jollof rice or chabujen. And so when you look at their jollof rice, it does have vegetables in it, like ours have in it, and like vegetables that you can see that are pronounced. They're more so in whole form when you see like the root vegetables like cassava or carrots or whatever else, and then they'll have meat that's usually not mixed into the rice but in whole form on it. Whereas, Ghanaians, Nigerians, typically there aren't vegetables. It's just a tomato based stock or soup base, and then they're making the rice to eat with meat on the side. Whereas Liberians, we mix everything together or mix everything in it. I think Sierra Leoneans and Ghanaians make jollof rice similar to us. So I mean, I can't say it should be one way or not. I think every specific country might have like a traditional way of making jollof rice, but the people who originated it, I guess we should be doing it like them. To me, Senegalese jollof rice is the only one that can like come close to ours.
And I think that has been after Liberian jollof rice. That has been my favorite Senegalese jollof rice.
It's mine too. Mine too.
Yeah, after Liberia is Senegalese, then I will go to Sierra Leone, and that's
Yeah.
where I stop.
And Sierra Leonean food is like very close, similar to ours. We share. So I mean, I know they use a lot more ground pea or peanut butter in the food.
You put cassava leaf and stuff like that. So that's like, but we have similar food.
Yeah.
So as we're talking about food, you have had the opportunity to work in a lot of like you said, hospitality industry. And when it comes to food, do you think I don't know how to put it. Do you think the hospitality or food industry is respected in other countries than compared to Liberia with your experience that you had when you did your little pop-up shop, your pop-up dinner?
You said, do I think the hospitality?
Yeah, do you think it was respected? Do you think like what you did was respected in Liberia compared to if you had done it in America?
I don't think it was not respected. I think it was something different for folks. Like, some of the commentary I got was that the portion size was too small, but it was meant to be like a tasting tapas menu. So it wasn't supposed to be like you sit down with a big portion of food and, that's what you're eating. So I remember that's the feedback that I got. Also, like, it was different. It wasn't traditional Liberian food. It was like fusion cuisine. So I did something like how we will typically do our roasted meat, but I did it in smaller pieces and I did it on a plantain chip with the sauce on top. So it wasn't like one combined dish. It was kind of separated or deconstructed. So you still get the Liberian flavors that we use, but just in different forms, which is what I try to do through my cooking and when I'm showcasing my cuisine. But I think it was well received. I think people would be open to experiencing something like that on a regular basis to have it as an option outside of what is the norm and the everyday thing there. But I don't think it wasn't respected. I think it was just different.
And so I think that's what I was going to go into that, where I think I knew a couple of people who did attend, and they were like, oh, it was so great, but it was different. Even though it was Liberian food, but it was different. Mm-hmm. And so, if you can just I know you just talked right now where you did the meat and put it in the plantain chip and stuff like that. How did you come up to create those different styles? I would say different menu or to get a different taste.
I don't know. Honestly, it's not really a process for me. A lot of times if I want to create or be in the mood to create, it will take me some time to get there. But when it happens, it's just like, okay, all the ideas come out. a lot of times it will happen like if I'm just walking casually down the street, or if I'm sitting on the train just listening to music, then stuff starts like coming through my head. Or if I'm in the shower, like just I need some time, quiet time, undistracted, just to think and to be clear headed, and then the ideas start flowing. And it's just, I think traveling helps because I can traveling and eating helps because then I can say like, oh, I tasted this flavor that's in our cuisine, but it was presented in a different way. So how about I try that? And so those types of experiences for me are learning moments that I can take from to say, okay, how do I want to present our food and our flavors in a way that is different than what is used to, that is, interesting for Liberians and welcomed by Liberians, but then also for folks who aren't Liberian, it makes it a little bit easier for them to come into our world where it's like, oh, this is like a version of Liberian cuisine. I want to keep exploring more. So they're not just seeing like, the typical rice and soup or fufu and soup or whatever else. They're just opening their minds up to another way of what our cuisine could be.
So is there a possibility of you going back to Liberia to do this again?
Yeah, I would like to. I feel like I was supposed to go to Liberia, I think that the first year of COVID, of the pandemic. So it's been about 4 years since that pop-up event. Maybe I'll go for the holidays. We'll see. We'll see what happens pending COVID and pending the landscape, because elections are coming up too. So there's a lot of things in the air.
And I was going to bring that up. Election is coming up. There are a lot of things that happened. There are a lot of people that we know have moved out of Liberia again. And so this time around, if you are thinking about going back to Liberia to do this thing, how are we going to start preparing for this?
So I would say, honestly, I'll say like me doing a pop-up in Liberia is not my focus. I would be in Liberia and it would be like, okay, after my time there, I happen to do a pop-up because, maybe I just want to cook for the people that I hung out with or the people that I met while I was there. But it wouldn't be me going to Liberia with the sole intention of, going there to do a pop-up. It would kind of be a secondary thought. For me, going to Liberia is to go visit family and friends that I haven't seen in 4 years, but then also I would like to get into agriculture in West Africa, especially in Liberia more. Like there are lots of opportunities for us who are Liberian, who own property or who have maybe excess income to do something and to invest in the agriculture industry. And across the continent at large, like that's a huge opportunity for us to make money and to really do some stuff with. And it's very under tapped. And those are the kind of opportunities that I would be looking for if I am to go to Liberia. Like that would be my focus, not doing a pop-up. Sorry to say.
Well, somebody said they don't understand why don't we have a pop-up here? There's we have the Liberian 26 event that happened, July 26 event that happened. There are a lot of Liberians in the diaspora. Why don't you do the pop-up here and get Liberians to come out and taste these delicious delicacy?
Where is this person located that they're asking?
Maryland.
Oh, Maryland. So Maryland, yeah, I've been hearing from a few folks in Maryland that they want to pop up. I did a to-go. I did my crab feast in a to-go format during the pandemic. So I haven't done a pop-up since then. I've done like some catering and drop-off catering throughout the pandemic, but I haven't done a pop-up in some time. I'm definitely one of those folks who is more COVID conscious. And, if it makes sense, I'll do it. If not, then I won't. Also, food costs has gone up. So if the people want to pay for a pop-up, we can do it. Otherwise, I'm available for hire as a private chef and a caterer for your private events.
And that's what I was going to go into, because I know that the private event, and I was going to ask you, as someone who, you ran your own business, you also have other company, you have another company, you have stuff going on. How lucrative it is for people who are in your industry when it comes to private events?
So other folks hiring us for services?
No, yeah. Let's say I want to have an event. I want you to just come to my house and cook for me and stuff like that. How is that compared to having a food truck or working in doing someone's 9 to 5? Like, how lucrative is that?
It depends. I mean, I've never owned a food truck before. I've never owned a restaurant before. I've worked in restaurants and overhead is very, very expensive when you talk about rent. Rent is expensive, especially these days. Labor is expensive, especially these days as costs have gone up. I'm the type of person that likes to pay people pretty well. If you're helping me for events, I do pay whoever assists me very well. Like, you're not getting $15, $20 an hour. So I don't think that's a livable wage. Like, people still have to work multiple jobs making that, making $15, $20 an hour to like pay for their necessities. So it depends on how the individual does it. For me, going to undergrad and studying hotel tourism management, restaurant management, working in restaurants, and then going to get my MBA, I'm very much so about the numbers. So that's why I always like, if it makes sense, it makes sense. And for me, I'm always, making sure I'm breaking even plus making a profit on anything that I'm doing. And I'm also not afraid to say no to opportunities. Like, there are clients who reach out to me that simply cannot afford the services that I put forth based on the quote that I provide. And I would love to assist, but for me, based on the way that food is expensive, materials are expensive, labor is expensive, I'm going to make sure that all of those bases are covered. So I'm not doing something or taking on a job for someone to lose money on it. So, I understand if some folks don't want to pay for the service, but you have to get paid as a business owner, and you have to make sure that you're running your numbers in a way for you to get paid, and that you're not going in the hole, and that you're not losing money, and that you're able to pay your cost. So that's how I run my businesses, to be able to make a profit.
So when we look at demographics, race wise, who are your best clients?
Most of my clients are Black, and they all pay very well. A few of them are Liberian too, and they all pay very well. So this
Because,
stigma that say it again.
no, I was going to say, because I know you said, there are people who do bring business news, like, you can't afford me, and it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the reality, and it could be for that one event they can't afford, but for another thing that they can afford. That's why I also have the spice business. So that's a way for you to cook and prepare foods at home that introduce the flavors that I cook with when I'm hired for services. So that's another way to get a little bit of the flair of what I cook and prepare with. That's another reason why I do pop-up dining experiences, because some people don't want to pay. Can I curse or no?
No, you can curse. It's
Some people
awesome.
some people don't want to pay a shit ton of money just to prepare dinner at home for 2 to 4 people, right? So they'll go buy a ticket to a pop-up dining experience and get that experience. Other people, they want to host and entertain 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 people at home, and they have the budget to do that. Some people, they want to do plated dinners. Other folks, they just want to do like some cocktail hour bites and stuff like that. So all of those different offerings are at a different price point. So I can work with people based on what they want, but at the end of the day, I'm in business to make money and to make sure that I and my expenses are paid for. I cannot be living in this United States or global economy struggling.
I agree, because people want to eat. But I have experienced this thing where I feel that Liberian caterers, they cook a lot. It's like a lot of food. I don't know. Maybe it's because I think a lot of people say that it's because I don't care about food. But and I don't. It's not like in a negative way. I just feel it's just like when you Liberian caterers, like they give you you ask a small pen and they give you a big thing. I'm like, where am I going to carry all of this? Because, and I think a lot of times, and I want to say this, so maybe you can correct me. A lot of times, people, I was like African or Liberians caterers, are people who they don't understand that if I'm having an event, I'm Liberian. Yes, I want some Liberian food, but I'm also going to get other food, because guess what? I have other guests that are coming. And I don't want to have too much Liberian food, because people who aren't used to it, they might not eat it. And I don't want food to spoil. And then people get upset. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, that is a lot of food. Like, who's going to eat it? So am I doing too much? Because that's what they say I do a lot.
I won't say you're doing too much or not doing too much. It's a valid assumption, but it is an assumption. It's not necessarily true. There are Liberian caterers and chefs who are like that, but then I know quite a few who aren't, and who know how to like portion out food and to create more globally focused menus and to have our traditional Liberian dishes, but then also some other international flavors depending on the client's guest demographic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just happen across Liberian chefs and caterers, it happens across American, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever else. It happens across all demographics, but maybe for us, like we tend to want to support Liberian businesses, or we only go to Liberians first because maybe that's who we know. I don't know what it is, but it's an assumption. It is a valid assumption, but then it's not so much because there are more than just those types of caterers and chefs out there.
Yeah, and so we have people who tend not to. I think you talked about it earlier. Who tend not to feel that the product is worth this person amount. And I think I've had this conversation with somebody else who's also like in the art industry and stuff like that. And I feel it's like, and I don't know if you have experienced that where, you provide a service, you have a service that you're going to provide, but somebody wants to give you tip and change because they're like, it's your cooking. And I said it in Liberian English. I don't mean it's a Liberian people.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced that too, but then also, I'm not necessarily afraid to refuse business. In the past, I would take on different things because it's like, oh, I want to get my name out there more, want to be able to make extra money, especially as an entrepreneur. Sometimes, especially in the food business, you don't know, there are seasons in the food business, especially, and if you are a certain type of chef or caterer. So sometimes you don't know when your next check is coming through. So you might want to take on things even when clients are complaining about costs and XYZ. But also, like, to be frank, and I mentioned it previously, I do work a corporate job as well. So I have another source of income coming in. So maybe I am more comfortable refusing certain things if it doesn't necessarily make sense financially because I have another backup, right? But I mean, I don't know. There are people who operate like that, but then there are not. And I know in the Black community, in the Liberian community, there are assumptions that our businesses operate a certain way, and there are some that do, but then there are a lot who don't. Even when clients reach out to me and I'm not available, I do have Black and Liberian chefs and caterers that I refer to them in my absence, and I've gotten great reviews from all of those clients on. They even still, the clients will come back to me to hire me, or I'll hear from those other folks like, oh, so-and-so reached out to me because they said you weren't available and blah, blah, blah. So they're receiving great service from us and from people in our community. And a lot of those clients are us as well. So I don't know if you guys are having bad experiences, come to me. I can help you
I know
out.
I had Koto, we had a conversation, we're talking about, our aunties who expect her to make clothes, like, oh, there's so many suits that do this. Do you get that same thing where the like aunties want you to, oh, I'm having a party, can Dominique cook me jollof rice? Can Dominique make me this? Like, do you get that request as well? And nobody expect to pay?
In the beginning, but not that they don't expect to pay. But in the beginning, I would get a lot of requests for things where it just wasn't it didn't make sense for me financially, but I would do it anyways. Maybe because it's like, oh, they're family, or again, wanting to just make the money, get my name out there. These days, the requests don't come in like that so much anymore. There are certain people who, I'll do things for at a discount, but they always pay me. Like even my friends pay me for services. They pay me for food. So my friends and my parents too, like they're not, even till this day, my mother still like pays for my spices every time she buys spices from me. And I'm just like, you can just get the spices, but like she does that. My cousins do it, my aunts do it, like they pay. And my friends too. I'll always like give them a little extra something, but like they pay for the products and the services that they're purchasing.
And I think that's where I think it's important, and I said it earlier, but somebody posted and said that our friends now aren't the friends; they are our connection, they are our allies, they are every other thing other than just being friends. And so we see that for those you guys who do have small businesses, or you were working on a lot of things, you want to mix the right people so that you can be partnered in different ways, especially entrepreneurs. And then for us who are dark, Black people, we got extra work that we have to do. And I say this in reference because I wanted to ask you, as a female in this industry, has there been a time where you sat down and said, "Wow, I'll have to work extra hard than the other race who is a male, white race or Asian race?"
Um, yeah, I have, but I won't say that I've had that thought in cooking in kitchens. I haven't had that thought in cooking in kitchens or with other people, nor have I had that thought running my own business. I definitely had that thought in restaurant management because it came across like I was passed up on opportunities and was not able to do some of the things that I wanted to do, whereas some of my male or white male counterparts were. Um, Me being in corporate America right now, I'm very much so getting used to it and getting adjusted to, what that corporate America lifestyle is for a black woman specifically, and how to best navigate that to get what I want to get out of it. So it's interesting. I haven't really formulated my opinion on it yet, but it's an interesting observation. But yeah, I definitely noticed it in restaurant management. And then also in a lot of spaces, I've been used to being the only black person, being the only black woman at that. I think that's, America in general. We're a minority in America, but then in the hospitality industry specifically, you're a huge minority, especially once you get to the management levels. Entry level, like you see a lot of black, Hispanic, Latin American, Asian folks, but once you start getting into upper level management, I remember on the property for me, there were only two other black people. One was a black woman, one was a black man, who were either, general managers or managers of restaurants, and then myself coming in at the most junior, and new to the organization. So there were only three of us out of, however many managers in the food and beverage outlet on property. And to me, that's crazy. But, those are still the stats. Even if you look at hotel ownership, hotel ownership specifically in America, there are not a lot of black owned hotels, very few. When you look at restaurants, it's a little bit better, but the stats for black restaurant owners are far worse than anyone else because we don't get funding like anyone else, especially if you're a black woman. Like, we're at the bottom of the totem pole if you look at it. And it's honest and it's funny because it's like it's unbelievable, but
Yeah.
it's really ridiculous.
And so, going in, so I think I have started to make this conscious decision for restaurants and places that I go. It's black owned. They have to be black owned. And so we, like every restaurant we go to, we got to make sure that it's black owned. We look at it, we buying something, got to make sure it's black owned. And I think if a lot of us black people can get into that headspace where we can support our black owned businesses, then our people probably won't need to be going to these banks to get loans because they will have the capital, they will have the money because we will be there to support them. And so, they have this thing, and I don't know, it's a good thing, but it really rubs me the wrong way where, they have like the Black Restaurant Week, and that's when all the black people are going to go to black restaurants. And I'm just like, why you have to wait for a week? Why are you still going to that restaurant when you want to go to that restaurant because it's Black Restaurant Week and they're going to give you discount? But you can go to that other place and spend $100 and $120 on a meal, but you're waiting in order for you to go to that restaurant, it has to be on sale. I don't know if that's something you ever thought about, but that's stuff that pisses me off.
Yeah, I thought about it, but I try not to give too much attention to certain things. Otherwise, I would be mad about a lot of stuff, especially in America. But I don't know. It's like it's a systemic thing. It's a mentality thing, and a lot of people are cheap. A lot of people are cheap.
I don't think they're cheap. That's the part I don't think they're cheap. I think we're cheap. We don't support each other. I think it's a fact. For example, you will see a black person walk. I don't want to call the restaurant's name, but they will walk into that restaurant and they will pay whatever they want to pay. But if they go to a black restaurant, they expect to have the red carpet rolled out. And if the food come back and the meat is not at the temperature where they want, they're cursing and yelling and throwing plates and stuff like that. But if they're at that other restaurant, they don't do all that stuff.
Yeah, and
So
that's fair. It's fair. My comment wasn't a fair one to say we're cheap. It's we don't have value for ourselves. We don't have
yeah,
self value, and that's what it is. And that's a systemic thing. That's a mentality thing that we're lacking. It needs to actively improve and actively be changed. But I say I don't put too much energy towards that because I know what I do. I'm aware of what you do and what other people in my circle do. And I feel like, you know, people like us and people who have the same mindset as us, we can push the needle. And, it doesn't, the masses would help, but also like a smaller group of people pushing the needle and, fueling some of those initiatives will help. It takes one person to like set a trend or to define the culture. And so, doing that and keeping it up and focusing your energy on that and getting other people to come on board, it will happen. It will take longer, but you know, it's always
and I
going to be people who just don't want to support their own. But then there are
and,
other people who do. So that's just the reality.
and it's crazy because I know for me, like I said, I don't really care about. I care about the ambiance. I care about when you walk into a restaurant and the ambiance. The drinks are great. Yeah, the food is good, but the drinks are good. The vibe is great and stuff like that. And so I can say that I've been to Black Swan like probably been to Black Swan like 5 or 6 times. Black-owned restaurant in Baltimore, and I just go there. I'm just like, this is Black excellence. It's owned by Black people. I mean, it's just great. Everything is nice. You enjoy the ambiance. It's really great. It's in Baltimore, downtown Baltimore. It's and so I think, a lot of times that's what we Black people should aspire to. And I have a friend who I brought it up, and I'm like, well, I'm not going down there. Why would I leave all the restaurants around here and drive all the way to Baltimore? I'm just like, that's not the point. The point is, this is a Black-owned business run by a Black man like you. Support. And that for me what pisses me off. I don't think like people see that. It's just like you support Black businesses. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, at a minimum, but also, I would encourage people who are entrepreneurs or, in any industry, don't get discouraged if, your own people don't support you. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep going. And I mean,
It's hard.
there's a lot of money out there. So,
I know somebody said that the other day. Somebody said there's a lot of money out there. We can do the same thing 5 different ways. We go
yeah,
against that money. It's there.
get your money. If,
Yeah,
if
but
that person doesn't support
I
you, another
know.
person will support you. It's okay.
I agree. So you have it's Mesean spices or Mesean spices?
No, Mishan, you said it right the first
Said
time.
it right. Okay, so it's Mesean spices, different kind of spices. So tell us about these spices.
Yeah, so I have a couple of jars here for folks. So you can
Okay.
see, I always get reversed with the camera. So
Yeah.
Meeshan Spices, I see the link to orders right there. And so basically came out officially during the pandemic. So with the catering and events company, I was already making everything from scratch, spice blends for like meats, to go in salad dressings, making dressings from scratch, marinades from scratch. And a lot of times clients would ask me like, what did you use on lamb chops? What did you use on those veggies? Like, can you leave that behind? And so I just started thinking about it. The first spice that I launched was Better Than, and that was for the crab feast specifically because the name, official name, or my name for it is called Better Than Old Bay because I do think, and people have told me it's better than Old Bay. And so I made like my own West African inspired, Liberian inspired, crab oil seasoning blend. And so you get a smokiness to it, you get a pepperiness, you get the salty, smoky, spicy, sweet. So it's like a whole lot of good flavors in there. And that's the first blend that I launched, and I started selling those at the crab feast. And then during COVID, when I was also in grad school, they had a competition called New Venture Competition. So I entered it to see like, okay, how can I develop and scale up this business? Because people have been asking me for spices for so long, and I was just like, F it, let me just see if I can sell these things. So I entered the competition the first year. I only made it to the first round. But then I did a summer accelerator, learning how to scale a product-based business, which is different than a catering or service-based business. And then I entered the competition again, my final year of my MBA program, and I won Best Food and Beverage Venture, won some money with it. And so that was cool. And so I have now a collection of 6 spice blends, some savory blends, one spicy blend called Cuisine, which means hot with pepper in Pella, a Liberian dialect. And then I have a sweet one called Something Sweet. And then Mesean means food in Pella as well. So, paying homage to my Liberian roots while introducing, African diaspora flavors. And then Cuisine is like the most traditional blend. It's like, I would say, our dry pepper spice blend, using ingredients from the diaspora. So those are available online, meseanspices.com. I ship anywhere in the United States. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I carry them with me. So if you catch me somewhere, I might have some, somewhere, and you can buy it on site. And then every now and then I do a farmer's market in the DMV area on Saturdays. You can check the website or send us an email to see when next will be popping up so you can buy in person. But otherwise, hit up meseanspices.com, order your spices, get sent to you directly. You can be cooking with them at home by next week.
And thinking about Mesean spices.
Yes. Yes.
So the spices ingredients, are they from, do you get them locally or are they imported?
So I work with a few different suppliers, and they're sourced from different parts of the world, and then some from the US. I would love to get to the point where I'm sourcing ingredients from the continent directly. I think that would be super dope to like get all of the ingredients from Africa. Right now, I'm not there in the supply chain or in the production aspect of Mesean spices, but it's something that I do want to build up to. That would be my ultimate dream and goal.
Well, the conversation has been great. We said thank you again for being here with us, sharing, giving us all this knowledge, sharing your expertise with us, getting us, some of us to understand that we need to try new stuff. So I'm going to work on myself. I'm traveling in a month. So I think when I go overseas, I'm going to try to eat because I'm going with a lot of foodie. Like when I say everybody that I'm going with like food, it's going to be stressful for me because I won't be going. It's gonna be. I know it's gonna be stressful.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage people like the worst you're not gonna like it. So yeah, just try out new things. That's my mom. What's the worst that's gonna happen?
Some of the people where I've traveled with them before, where I said you guys have a whole plan. You're gonna go see you're gonna go to a sightseeing or something, and then they see a restaurant and they be like, "Oh, we're not eating this restaurant. Let's go." I'm like, "Well, we going over there? Like, no, we gotta go eat. Did you see the menu? Do you see what they have? Oh, we gotta go." And the whole day runs around food. They can describe the food from one taste. Like when I don't tell some of them, I say, y'all need some YouTube channels because y'all know how to describe food. But yeah, so I will try it. I've learned and I will try it. And so I said, thank you for being here. But for a young Liberian girl who is watching and who in her little mom kitchen and trying to put little things together and doing stuff, can you just say something to her before you leave?
Say something to her before I leave. I mean, definitely keep going. Don't quit. Just keep going. Even, baby steps make the difference. So like every little small step counts, even if you think it doesn't. In the end, you'll be looking back. So I'm gonna say more than just one thing. Success does not happen overnight. I think a lot of folks have that misconception. But if you look at the most successful people in the world in terms of business owners, entrepreneurs, or those who have a significant amount of money, it's like 10, 15, 20 years of constantly building something before, those results are really like pouring in. And so that's a long time. But then in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much if you look at your life, right? So if you start something at 18, 10, 15, 20 years from now, what? You'll be 40. If you're 40 and you're in a good position with yourself financially, with businesses operating, and then you're free to kind of do other things, you still have a long life ahead of you. So I would say, look at the long game, and baby steps really make a huge difference. And the last thing I would say is like try everything, like try every opportunity, if it makes sense, even if it doesn't make sense to you, but try everything as long as it's not going to hurt you and harm you in any way. Like try it. Don't be afraid to take on different opportunities. So yeah, those are my pieces of advice for whoever is watching.
Thank you, Dominique. Thank you for being here, and we appreciate you. We look forward to an in-studio appearance with some cooking. I
Oh
think that's
yeah,
what we need to. We, we,
that
we
could,
need to do that. We need to do an in studio cooking, and we can whip up something and let the people see.
yeah, that could be cool.
I'm gonna plan that. You already know.
All
I'm
right.
gonna plan to reach out to you, and we'll
Um,
have Grace sampling the food.
yes, my auntie niece gonna be through with the little baby.
Exactly, and then Abe will be taking the pictures.
Yes, a little reunion with all the
Oh,
mini
all the
going
time.
around the place. Yeah, I'm
But
with
thank
it.
you, we appreciate you for being here with us, and you have an amazing day. And we look forward to more greater things from
Thank you.
Tolbert hospitality industry.
Yes, thank you for having me. I had a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I had a great time. So, call me
Okay.
back whenever. And congrats to you on what did you say, 62 episodes and the completion of
Yes,
the third season? That's amazing.
I know. I didn't.
That's
I can't believe we've been on this. I've been texting my niece. I'm like, I can't believe we've been doing this for 3 seasons and 62 guests for 62 episodes. And she said, okay, it's 147 guests and
okay.
147 guests and 62 episodes. So,
So we're gonna do something big when you hit 100, right?
oh, definitely gonna be a party up in here. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. Congrats.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Talk to you later.
Right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys. So of course, that was Dominique Tolbert. She has Mesean Spices. Like she said, if you want, you want private catering, whatever it is that you want to do, you can reach out to her. So you guys can go ahead, go to MeseanSpices.com and order the spices. You can reach out to Dominique. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. If you want her, whatever you need to do when it comes to food, go ahead and get that. But of course, this was the conversation. This is our last episode for season 3. I'm super excited. I said thank you for everyone who's been watching from episode 1, season 1 to now. It's been great. I am super excited for the great things ahead of us. The conversation, outspoken and opinionated. Like I've always said, it was just an idea. It was an idea because somebody said you talk too much and you need to get a podcast. And I was like, oh, that's true. And then in therapy, my therapist said, no, you don't talk too much. You don't ask a lot of questions. You're just, she said, don't let nobody label you like that. You're just outspoken and opinionated. And I was like, oh, the conversation, outspoken and opinionated. That's where it came from. And so I said, thank you, everyone who's been supporting us. You liked our videos on Instagram. You follow us on Instagram. You're there with us on Facebook. You're there with us on YouTube. Go again to Apple Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts because for the next 31 days, we're going to be on hiatus. And then we'll start again September 1st for season 4. So until then, I'll see you guys. Be great. Enjoy. And I'll see you next season. Have an amazing rest of your summer. And I'll see you in the fall.